The Lone Tracker by J R Corbin, 1921. Introduction. The Lone Tracker is a riveting Western novel set in the untamed wilds of the American frontier, written by J R Corbin in 1921. The story revolves around a renegade Indian hunter named Cale Thunderstrike, a man of both myth and legend, whose skill as a tracker and hunter is unmatched in the rugged terrain of the Wild West. This novel blends adventure, conflict, and a deep exploration of the human spirit, offering a complex portrayal of a man torn between his heritage and his quest for redemption. Plot summary. The Renegade Hunter. Cale Thunderstrike is a half-Comanche, half-white man raised in the harsh but beautiful wilderness of the American West. As a young boy, he witnessed the destruction of his tribe by ruthless settlers and the U.S. Army. His family and people were massacred, and Cale was left to fend for himself in the unforgiving wilderness. Abandoned by both the white world and his Native American heritage, Cale became a solitary figure, a hunter and tracker for hire, feared and respected by all who knew of him. Cale is known far and wide as the Lone Tracker, a name that evokes fear and awe. His skills are legendary. No man, beast, or fugitive can escape his pursuit. However, Cale's quiet, vengeful life takes a turn when he is hired by a group of ranchers in a remote part of the western frontier to track down a notorious outlaw named Rufus Calloway, a leader of a ruthless gang of cattle rustlers and thieves who has been terrorizing the area. Calloway's gang has killed several innocents, and Cale is promised a significant reward for his capture. The Hunt for Rufus Calloway. The novel follows Cale's journey as he tracks Calloway and his gang through the vast, unforgiving landscapes of the West across deserts, canyons, and dense forests. Cale, with his intimate knowledge of the land, moves silently and swiftly, always one step ahead of those who seek him or try to stop him. However, as Cale inches closer to his quarry, he finds that the line between hunter and hunted is not as clear-cut as he once believed. Along the way, Cale encounters various characters: settlers desperate for protection, cowboys looking for glory, and lawmen who have their own agendas. One of the most significant of these is Clara Dawson, a strong-willed young woman whose family's ranch has been repeatedly attacked by Calloway's gang. Her calm demeanor and tough spirit draw Cale in, and they form an uneasy alliance. While Cale is driven by revenge, Clara is driven by a desire for justice, not just vengeance. Her presence complicates Cale's mission, forcing him to confront his own inner demons. As Cale gets closer to finding Calloway, he faces numerous challenges, including ambushes, dangerous wildlife, and the betrayal of those he thought he could trust. Throughout his journey, Cale's internal struggle grows. He was once a man defined solely by his desire for revenge, but his time spent with Clara and other innocents forces him to question whether his path of violence and solitude is the only way forward. Cale's inner conflict. Though Cale is a skilled hunter, the brutality of his past haunts him. Raised with both Native American and white blood, Cale often finds himself trapped between two worlds, neither of which fully accepts him. His Indian heritage is a source of pride, but also a reminder of the destruction his people faced at the hands of white settlers. His white ancestry offers him opportunities in the white world, but also ties him to the very system that caused the downfall of his people. This conflict forms the emotional core of the Lone Tracker. Cale's journey is not just one of physical pursuit, but an internal struggle between revenge and redemption. He often reflects on his past, on the violent memories of his childhood, the slaughter of his tribe, and the people he loved and lost. Cale has spent most of his life trying to outrun these memories, but they always catch up with him. The final showdown. The hunt for Rufus Calloway reaches its explosive climax when Cale finally corners the outlaw and his gang in a remote mountain hideout. The battle between Cale and Calloway's gang is fierce, with Cale using his superior tracking and survival skills to outwit and outmaneuver his enemies. As the dust settles and Cale faces off with Calloway, the two men come to a violent confrontation. But in the heat of battle, Cale is forced to make a decision that will change the course of his life. Calloway offers Cale a deal: join him and continue a life of lawlessness, or die in the pursuit of vengeance. For a moment, Cale is tempted to take the easy way out, living a life where power and violence rule. However, his encounter with Clara and the realization of the consequences of his actions causes him to hesitate. In the end, Cale chooses the path of justice, capturing Calloway and bringing him to the law. But even in his victory, Cale finds no satisfaction in revenge. The realization that his life of violence and vengeance has only perpetuated the cycle of destruction dawns on him. Cale walks away from the confrontation, leaving the world of bounty hunting and revenge behind. Themes and resolution. The Lone Tracker explores the themes of identity, vengeance, redemption, and the complicated nature of morality in the Wild West. Cale Thunderstrike is a man torn between two worlds, his Native American heritage and his existence in the white man's world. His journey reflects the broader struggles of Native Americans in the post-Civil War frontier, where they were often forced to navigate a world that was hostile to their culture, values, and ways of life. The novel also highlights the psychological toll of vengeance. Cale's transformation from a solitary hunter consumed by revenge to a man seeking redemption is central to the story. His interactions with Clara, a woman who represents the possibility of a different, more peaceful life, challenge Cale's beliefs and force him to reconsider his purpose. Ultimately, The Lone Tracker is a story of personal growth, as Cale learns that true justice is not about vengeance, but about healing and reconciliation. The book ends on a note of quiet reflection. Cale rides off into the wilderness once more, but this time not as a hunter or avenger. He is simply a man searching for peace, redemption, and a place where he can finally reconcile his two halves. Legacy and conclusion. Though The Lone Tracker is a fictional work, it captures the essence of the American frontier and the complexities of the Wild West. J R Corbin's vivid descriptions of the landscape and his nuanced portrayal of Cale Thunderstrike make the novel a compelling read for those interested in the moral dilemmas faced by individuals living in a lawless land. The story of Cale's quest for redemption transcends the historical context, speaking to timeless themes of identity, justice, and the human condition. The novel has become a classic of the Western genre, remembered for its deep character study and its exploration of the impact of violence and vengeance on the soul. Corbin's portrayal of the conflict between personal duty and moral clarity continues to resonate with readers today, making The Lone Tracker a significant contribution to Western literature.